Hello, economists. This video is a quick overview of the four different types of markets that we've been looking at in our market types unit, and along with a summary of the criteria we use to classify different firms into different markets. So first thing we want to think about is why do we classify market types? Well, first of all, classification allows for us to generalize. So just like in any discipline, when we classify things, like in biology, if you classify different organisms into different categories: kingdom, phylum, class, order, family, genus, species. I remember my high school biology. It allows you to make generalizations about those particular categories, which then can be used to apply to new situations to make better sense of the new situation. So in other words, if I know the criteria of perfect competition, I can better recognize firms existing in a perfectly competitive market. It allows me to better understand why firms behave the way they do and make predictions about how those firms might behave. It also allows firms to make better decisions themselves about product development, cost structuring, pricing strategies, customers they might want to target. So it's really important. As in any discipline, classification really helps us to do our job as economists. Now, when we think about market types, we look at 5 different criteria, really 3 different criteria. I should be more accurate here. The number of firms, the size of firms, how easy is it to get into the market, and how differentiated the products are. The result of those classifications would make a firm a price taker or a price maker, which we'll see what that means in just a minute. We also think about the likely nature of the demand curve. If the demand curve for the product seems like it would probably be price sensitive or price insensitive, that might give us some insight into whether or not a firm is competing in a very competitive market or not. So the first category we look at is perfect competition. Now, perfect competition is a category where there are many, many small firms. It's very easy to get into the market. It doesn't require huge capital expenses or technological barriers or intellectual property or regulatory barriers. The product is undifferentiated, pretty close to undifferentiated, meaning one seller to the next is selling the same thing, and there's no asymmetric information, meaning that the buyers know everything that the sellers do. Nobody in the market knows any more about the product than anybody else. Perfectly competitive firms are going to be price takers because of this. They will have to basically take whatever price the market is giving because there's a very price-sensitive demand curve for these products. It's very simple for a buyer to switch to another seller of the product, and when that's the case, you have very little control over the price you're going to set. You're going to basically have to take the price that the market is dictating. Examples of this would be commodities like oil, natural gas, coal, corn, soy, lobsters, fish, anything like that, where it doesn't matter if I buy 100,000 pounds of coffee beans from one grower or another. They're all coffee beans. Bags of ice are pretty clearly the same from one seller to the next. Gasoline is a little bit more competitive only because it's a little bit more difficult to get into the business of selling gasoline, but still, these are examples of where the firm is going to be more of a price taker. When you go to the pump, the price at the pump is largely set by the market. There's not much difference from one seller to the next. Gas is gas is gas, right? So perfect competition would be those markets where the firm has very little control over what's going on. Monopolistic competition, there is a little bit more control over what's going on, a little bit less competitiveness in the market. There's many small, often independent firms. It's relatively easy to get into the market. So in this way, it's similar to perfect competition, but what's different is that the product is more differentiated. Firms in this market tend to be price takers, although there is some ability to compete on price, meaning that by underpricing your competitors, you might be able to lure more customers to your business. The price-sensitive demand, meaning that the demand curve is quite shallow. So it's easy to switch from one seller to the next. or you're more likely to switch from one seller to the next, and advertising is important. So it's like perfect competition, except the product now is starting to get a little bit more differentiated. Examples of this would be restaurants, barbershops, small retailers like small independent clothing stores, for example. Here in Wellesley Square, we have a lot of those, as you know. So restaurants like Lemon Thai and Amarin Thai and Be Good and Uncommon Pizza. Oh, Uncommon Pizza? Old School Pizza. Old School Pizza, right? Barbershops, things like that, right? The product is not identical, and you might be able to compete a little bit on price and a little bit on product differentiation. Moving towards the less competitive market types, oligopoly. There are a few big firms. It's very difficult to get into the market because of either regulatory barriers or simply the startup cost of getting into the market. The product can be quite differentiated, although in some ways it could be similar, but certainly differentiated. These firms tend to be more of a price maker, although they are going to be very keen on competing with each other on price, and a relatively price insensitive demand curve. In other words, the demand curve is going to be steeper, so switching from one option to another is less likely, and advertising still matters. An oligopoly would be something like airlines. JetBlue, Southwest, Delta, American, United. They're all big, and it's hard to get into the business of airlines. Car companies. You know all the different car companies. Ford, GM, Mercedes, Audi, whatever you want. They are all making cars, but certainly one car to the next is different. If they were all the same, you wouldn't find car companies in this market, right? There's a differentiated product. Big retailers like grocery store chains or big department stores like Target and Walmart. Now, you might think there's very little difference between Market Basket and Roach Brothers and Whole Foods, or between Walmart and Target, and maybe there isn't. But what ends up happening is because they're so big, it's very difficult to break into that market and compete with Walmart or Target. Wireless carriers, Verizon, AT&T, Singular, Sprint, just to name a few. Again, very difficult to break into the market. They're going to compete with each other pretty fiercely on price, but also quality of product. When you think about the commercials, you might remember the Verizon "Can You Hear Me Now" commercials, right? The quality of product matters there too. Streaming TV providers, Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu, Apple TV Plus, Amazon Prime, and then a whole bunch of other streaming TV providers. Again, in that case, the product is quite differentiated, but they're all TV programs. But we watch the TV programs we want to watch, not just whatever's on. So they're differentiated for sure. Software companies, right? Mac OS, Windows, Chrome OS, Linux, all these different software providers. They all exist in an oligopoly, or a market type we would call an oligopoly. And then finally, a monopoly. Now, in a monopoly, there's technically only one firm, and there are very few markets where there's an actual monopoly. It's usually the case that there's very few big firms. So we say like a near monopoly. Very difficult entry into the market. A relatively unique product. And because of this, there's little competition, and the firms can really set their price. The demand curve is very price insensitive or very steep. Examples of this would be utilities. If you want electricity in the town of Wellesley, there's one buyer, Wellesley Municipal Light and Electric. Google, which is nearly a monopoly for search. It's not literally a monopoly because you can use Bing or DuckDuckGo or Yahoo, and some of the other old ones would be like Ask Jeeves. I'm not even sure if it still exists. But for all intents and purposes, when you search, you use Google, and that process is so transparent you sometimes aren't even aware that you're using Google. It's just a search, right? How are you going to break into the search market? Well, because you're going to need to hire a whole bunch of software engineers, which good luck, because Google's probably hired them all already. You're going to need extensive server networks, which is not cheap to build. You're going to need an algorithm to do search, which is, whoops, wrong button. You're going to need an algorithm to do search, which is going to be better than Google, or at least as good as Google. And then you're going to need something that I don't know you can buy no matter how much money you had, which is a reputation for delivering good results. that's really difficult. People are so stuck on Google because it works. It's very going to be difficult to convince people to switch. And then Microsoft Office, Word, Excel, PowerPoint. At Dana, we use a lot of Google Apps and a lot of iCloud, Pages and Keynote and things like that. But in a lot of the business world, it's just Microsoft Office all the way around. And people don't want to switch. They know what they're doing with Microsoft Office, and the transaction cost of switching to a different Office suite is pretty significant. So Microsoft Office exists in a near monopoly. So when we think about market types, I'd like you to think about these 4 categories, but I'd like you to think on a spectrum. Nothing fits neatly, perfectly into one of the 4 categories. So we think over on the sort of one edge of the spectrum, we have much more competitive markets. And then over on the other side over here, less competitive. As we move left to right across the slide, competitiveness in the market goes down and dominance by a few firms increases. So more firms on the left side, fewer firms on the right side. Undifferentiated product on the left, unique product on the right. Low barriers to entry on the left, high barriers to entry on the right. Price taker on the left, price maker on the right. As you think about classifying, think about just exactly how much competition does the seller of the product face, and consider how big is the seller, how likely is it to be dominated by a few firms or by many firms. And that should be, those are the questions you want to ask as you're trying to figure out where different firms fit in the spectrum. And that is it for this presentation.